Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. Now for today's video, I wanted to compare two characters in this franchise that happen to be fan favorites. Robert Muldoon and Roland Tembo are undoubtedly some of the most iconic and entertaining characters we've yet to see in this series. Both men are written as African big game hunters from Kenya, and both men are shown to be on the bankroll of InGen during the events of their respective films. Interestingly enough, that's actually where most of the similarities between these two ends. Both men are given a considerable amount of screen time in these movies, and both of them take part in very different scenarios and situations than what the other actually went through. It's for this reason that I wanted to compare and contrast the two and figure out which character was the quote, better hunter. Now the answer to that question isn't necessarily as easy as you'd think. A lot of crazy stuff goes down in Jurassic Park and the Lost World, and these guys deal with the situations quite differently from one another. With that being said, these are the differences between Robert Muldoon and Roland Tembo. Let's start with the first film's game warden. Robert Muldoon is portrayed as an extremely cautious hunter that Hammond hired early on. In the first film, it's implied that he has a deep fear and hatred of the velociraptors, and even states that they should all be destroyed. Once he finds out that Nedry shut the power off in the park, he immediately asks if the raptor fences are down. John Hammond makes a point of noting to his visitors that Muldoon knows about raptors better than anyone. And the Kenyan continues to repeatedly make warnings about how dangerous the animals are throughout the course of the film. This is because of the death of the park worker that took place during the beginning of the movie, and that happens to bring forth one of the character's most iconic lines. From all of this, we can gather that Muldoon is an extremely cautious and realistic man that takes a great deal of seriousness in his work. He recognizes threats early on and is able to take charge of situations when it comes time for someone to step up to the plate. There's a reason Hammond hired him to be Jurassic Park's game warden. Moving on to The Lost World, we're introduced to Roland Tembo. His introduction in the movie is done through an extensive piece of now legendary dialogue. Here he lays out his role in the expedition and puts his employer in his place. This man is here to hunt and kill a male tyrannosaur. He doesn't want to make any stupid errors on this trip and refuses to listen to any suicidal ideas. He quickly puts the professional mercenary Dieter Stark at second in command and spends most of his time with his hunting partner, Ajay Sidhu. It's the time that he spends with Ajay that we get to see the tactics that Roland uses during his stay on Sorna. Upon finding the footprint of an adult Rex, the man quickly tracks down the nest of the large carnivore and proceeds to commandeer its infant, which he intends to use as bait while he and Ajay hide in a nearby tree. Of course, this plan doesn't work after the gatherers sabotage the InGen camp, and Nick Van Owen steals the baby back during the ensuing chaos. Roland Tembo later takes charge of the situation, demotes Stark for having it happen under his watch, and proceeds to group up with a rival team after they're rendered completely helpless. His role as a sensible leader and level-headedness can be illustrated perfectly during the scenes that follow. Between the two of these men, Roland Tembo is undoubtedly the one that happened to be put in the more dangerous situation. While Muldoon had to deal with an island full of dinosaurs that had recently broken free from their constraints, Roland was on Site B, a place where the dinosaurs had already re-established their domain and spread out individual territories and habitats far beyond what was shown in Jurassic Park. This was survival on the dinosaurs' home turf, which meant it wouldn't be anywhere near as easy. And now I think it's a good time to talk about the weaponry that each character had during their respective predicaments. Robert Muldoon is shown brandishing a Franke Spaz 12 during most of the first movie. This is a 12-gauge shotgun designed for military and police use. It has the ability to be fired as a semi-automatic weapon, but can also be converted to pump action. Muldoon also has an M16A2 in the emergency bunker from where he picks up his Spaz 12, but since he doesn't go for this gun himself in the film, I'm going to be sticking with his iconic shotgun as his go-to weapon. Roland Tembo, on the other hand, is shown brandishing something with substantially more firepower. In The Lost World, he brings a Searcy double-barreled rifle chambered in 600 Nitro Express. These cartridges contain a combination of nitrocellulose and nitroglycerin, also known as cordite. It's designed to kill elephants and other African big game. It's important to note here that neither of the two actually makes a kill with their respective weapons, even though both men are presented with a chance. Muldoon was stopped by an attacking raptor that had lured him into a clever trap, while Roland was unfortunately sabotaged during what I would assume to be a pivotal turning point in the hunter's retreat. From here on, we should discuss the mistakes that both of these men made during their time on the islands. Roland Tembo is shown underestimating Nick Van Owen during a scene in which he lays down his double during a break. Had he kept the weapon close to him and not expected mutual respect from the environmentalists, he wouldn't have missed his chance to kill a Rex. Another mistake he made was only carrying 2 cartridges on his person during the trek. It's been presumed by many that Siehda was more than likely the bearer of Roland's backup cartridges during their stay on Site B, considering Nitro Express rounds are incredibly heavy and an unnecessary burden. This is why many believe Ajay discards of his pack during the long grass scene where he meets his untimely end. Interestingly, the decision to not ask Sarah to remove her bloody jacket is met with either criticism or intrigue by fans for different reasons. Some assume this to be a terrible mistake that he not only took note of, but should have fixed immediately. Others actually favor the idea that this was the man using this situation to his own advantage. The baby Rex didn't exactly work as excellent bait, but the blood on the jacket certainly did. In fact, he's the only one seen running up to the Tyrannosaurs during their attack on the hunters. But to be fair, all of that is honestly mere speculation, albeit pretty fun speculation. Now, Robert Muldoon's mistakes are actually far more severe in the first film. After engaging in a one-on-one standoff with a velociraptor, he's later greeted with the snarling muzzle of a separate packmate near his face. Muldoon was lured into and killed by a raptor trap. This implies that even though the man thinks he knows a lot about the raptors, he still underestimated their ability to formulate a deceptive attack strategy. This man is fooled by the animals despite being incredibly cautious and even stating outright that they are extremely intelligent and can even solve problems. Still, the man had a far greater understanding of his game on Isla Nublar than Roland ever did on Site B. Robert is shown to have a deep understanding and grasp on all of the animals and their behaviors in Jurassic Park, whereas in The Lost World, Roland was a fish out of water who couldn't even pronounce most of the dinosaurs' names correctly. In conclusion, I think it's important to note that as far as being a quote, better hunter goes, Roland Tembo is the man who's actually seen tranquilizing a male tyrannosaur, while Robert Muldoon is the one who's seen being outsmarted and killed by a velociraptor. Both men encountered a plethora of misfortunes that you could chalk up to chaos, and both men took part in very dangerous situations. But Roland is the one who came out alive at the end of the day. Now, in all honesty, I want to bring up the original novel real quick to add in a bit of context. In that first book, Muldoon is depicted as being an older gentleman who actually takes part in killing velociraptors and tranquilizing the T-Rex. In fact, he actually survives Jurassic Park, and much of what was written for Roland Tembo in The Lost World was really just repurposed from what Muldoon didn't get to do in the first movie. Michael Crichton did not write the big game hunter in his novel sequel whatsoever. In my personal opinion, Roland is pretty much Muldoon's second shot of life in the second movie. Here we get to see all of the cool stuff that Robert would have done had he not been killed off in Jurassic Park. But these are all just my thoughts on the series, and this is just the beginning of the bigger discussion. Who do you think was the better hunter in the series? And what other differences can you find between both of these iconic Jurassic characters? I'd love to hear all of what you guys have to say in the comments down below. Now before I go, I want to thank my game wardens, as well as all of my InGen executives. I'd also like to thank all of my park workers and InGen hunters as well. Words can't really express how awesome it is to have you guys tell me how much you enjoy the stuff I do, and I seriously am extremely thankful for every bit of support that you've shown me. It honestly means the world, guys. Now, I'd like to thank you all for watching this video, and hope that you all enjoy today's content. If you feel like I deserve it, I'd appreciate the like, and hope that you'll consider subscribing if you're interested in hearing from me again. I'll see you all in the next video, guys, and as always, take it easy.